Hi everyone, it's Cathy Zielske. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I've got a couple ideas for grad cards. Now I realize that graduation in 2020 is going to look a little bit different for a lot of our high school and college students, but I think sending cards and encouraging them is as important as ever, as well as the cash you might include. So let's take a look at the supplies I'm using today. I designed a set for Simon Says Stamp called Grad Party, and this just features lots of different graduation sentiments. There's even a little stamp for creating your own grad invites, but that might not be happening in 2020, so you could save that for next year. It's also got coordinating dies to cut out a number of the larger sentiments in the hats. And I'm also going to be using another die. This is a word and shadow die, Grad, and it's the exact same size as the stamp, but this is a standalone that cuts out the word. I've also got this Grad Caps stencil that I'll be using on one of the two projects today. Got a host of distress inks here. I'm really hooked on this color palette lately. And I'll be using a little masking paper and a die to create my own mask. For cardstock, just some white and some lavender today, and some blender brushes to add color, as well as a few other products as we go. So let's jump in. I'm going to use this small die. This is from the Waffle Flower Crafts A2 Layers die set. And I'm going to run this through my die cut machine to cut a window. Now both of these panels are the same size, so I'm going to peel off half of the backer off the Masking Magic. And then I'm going to use my Score Buddy to line this up quickly. I'll take the exposed adhesive side, place that down first, smooth it down, and then I can flip it over and peel off the other half of the Masking Magic backer. Say that 3 times fast. And then I'll smooth that down for a perfectly placed mask. And the Masking Magic is great. It will not tear your paper. It has this low tack, but it's fantastic. Now it's time to go ahead and add the color, and all I'm doing is working in rainbow order on the cool side of the rainbow, starting with the squeezed lemonade, bringing in some twisted citron. I've also got a little bit of tumbled glass and wilted violet. I'm really loving these colors together lately. In fact, I will link to another project that I did recently with the same color palette. My tumbled glass is a little dry. Gonna have to get a re-inker for that one. But I'm using a very light hand here because I wanted this to be a very soft, pretty wash of color. And now when I peel and reveal, you'll see the beautiful masked area in the center of my card panel. Isn't that pretty? It's very soft and ready to move on. I'm going to stamp a sentiment onto some Neenah Solar White Classic Crest. This is the 110 pound. And I'm using some intense black from Simon Says Stamp. And this is a brand new stamp that I've never used before, so it did require a few stampings. One of the things that you'll notice when you get a new stamp set, it almost has a little coating on it, and so it takes a while to get your stamp conditioned. And I didn't do any conditioning, so I'm hitting it 3 times. 3 times in the exact same place, and therein lies the absolute beauty of a stamp positioner, because I would not be able to do that freehand. Went ahead and stamped a few grad caps and also hit those repeatedly to get a nice dark impression. All right, time to die cut. I'm going to create a little template here. I take another piece of cardstock, cut out the word die, and then just position this over the stamped image. The reason I like to do this is because it just saves time. I hate miscutting things and having to restamp. And what this does, once it's framed out and you tape it into place, the die just drops in and you can feel it. It snaps into that opening, and your chances of getting a perfect cut just went up exponentially. So now I've got the sentiment and the hats cut out. And now let's move on to stamping another sentiment down onto the blended piece. I just arranged the hat and the sentiment title and added a little sub-sentiment that says, "You will," just making sure that's lined up. I thought this would look nice just stamped directly onto the blended panel. So I'm going to hit that once very lightly, and it looked a little too light, so I hit it again with some more ink and stamped it down a second time. For my card base, I've got some Simon Says Stamp Lavendar cardstock, and I'm going to score this at 5.5. This will fold down to be a US A2, 4.25 wide by 5.5 tall. I'm going to tape my card base closed just to keep it flat while I'm assembling all the elements. I've got some foam tape on the back of the blended panel. I'm going to pop that up with a nice little bit of framing margin space to see that pretty lavender cardstock. I'm popping up the Change the World, and I want that H to split right on the line. See how that is? Oh, I think that looks so cute. I'm using thin foam squares, by the way, to pop these up so there's not too much dimension, but I would say the right amount. To finish off this card, I've got a few sequins, just a couple at the top and a couple repeated at the bottom, both breaking out of that little blended space. And that's card 1. Let's move on to the second card project. Again, we're starting with the ink blending. I'm not going to make you sit through this because I think you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to blend the same colors across this panel. Once that's done, I'm going to tape on the Grad Cap stencil. Now this would be an ideal stencil to use with pixie spray, but I could not locate my pixie spray, so I'm going to tape. Tape's going to be just fine. Once I get that taped into place, I'm going to repeat with the same inks and go with a bit heavier of a hand so that the hats will show up over the lighter blended areas. I think I could have gone even darker with this, but you know what? Live and learn. You're still going to get the suggestion of the hats on this panel. Once I peel and reveal, you will see how this looks. So a little tone on tone, again, working in that rainbow order down the front of the space. All right. Next, I'm going to use a die and trim this down a little. Just going to frame it out. I think that looks nice, and I'll run that through my die cut machine to cut a trimmed panel of hats. I went ahead off camera and cut out 3 lavender grad words and a white shadow layer base. And what I'm going to do is start gluing these together. I'm just going to use liquid glue. This is Gina Connect glue. I dot it onto the back, and then I can line up, and it gives me just a little bit of playtime to wiggle that into place. Sometimes I have trouble getting them perfectly lined up, but I will repeat and glue everything together. Next, I will stamp a little sentiment. This is just on some black cardstock. I thought it would look nice to have a little tiny white sentiment strip. I'm going to use my powder bag here to remove the static. I will ink it up with some Versamark. Just drop that down, give it a little pressure. And then I'm going to sprinkle on my powder. This is Brutus Monroe Alabaster. It says, "Proud of you." I'll tap off the excess, get my heat tool all heated up off camera, and melt that powder. Then I'm going to use one of my sentiment label dies to quickly trim out the Proud of You. Oh, love this die set. Just going to run that through my die cut machine and trim my strip down to size. I'm popping this panel up onto a white card base, and you can see this one has a little bit more of a margin, and I just thought that was really pretty. I'm popping up the Grad using some thin foam squares that I've placed on the back, and then I'm also going to pop up the Proud of You right under the Grad, just like that. Now here's what I couldn't decide, where to put this little hat, because I had the extra hat and I thought it would look cute there, you know, with the G, and then I thought, no, it's hanging off to the side too far. I might have made the wrong decision, but here's what I went ahead to do. I decided to move it over. I just didn't like that it was hanging out so far into the margin. So I think this right here, I think we're good to go. And that is my finished grad card number 2. So I've got 2 cards ready to send out to 2 of my favorite graduates for this season. And I know that this isn't the grad season we planned for our graduates, so I just want to send some love out your way to you and your family and your graduates. It doesn't take away from their accomplishments, and hopefully we can all celebrate how amazing they truly all are. Thanks so much for watching today. I would love to have you become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And if you do subscribe, be sure to hit the gray bell below the video so that you don't miss the next time I post. Here are a couple other videos that you might be interested in watching. Thanks so much and have a great day.